So tell everybody not to say anything bad. Yeah, once I get it recorded, then at the end I have to go and post it up on YouTube so I can give you access to it. Otherwise, the file's way too big to send around.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll follow up with you to get the link from YouTube.
Thanks. My memory is only about 2 inches long, and once we get past the first slide, I'm usually done with whatever happened before that. So.
Makes sense. Yeah, I'm the same. For the sake of time, I know there is a lot of content, so you can just jump in and get started.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to go into the fourth training session, and we're going to talk specifically about performance monitoring. So we're going to review, in the big scheme of the dashboard, where does performance monitoring fit and why. We're going to review the pyramid model so we can see the different levels of performance monitoring and where they fit into the pyramid. And then we're going to review each of the different levels. So let's go ahead and get started here. We'll go past the horse. Okay, so remember that in performance management, there's kind of 3 steps. We're going to create those operational plans. So we went through the operational planning process and the review, and everybody created a plan. After that, then is when we get into performance monitoring. So 3 levels of performance monitoring. The first one we'll talk about is what we call the macro level, and it's basically this dashboard screen. Now, this dashboard screen is dependent on the group you have selected. So it is at the group level. So that's kind of why the big picture, why we call it macro level in there. And then when we get down to the objective and activity level, we have graphs and charts and such down here that are, we call the micro level. So you're down at the very bottom level of the pyramid. And then any of this information at any level can be shared via VMSG public to a public facing web page. And what we'll do is we'll actually go in and take one of your plans, like your strategic plan or your QI plan or something along that line, and actually create a public facing web page out of it so you can see the steps. It's a really, really simple process, and I think you'll find it's a pretty valuable tool. Now, the reason that performance monitoring is critical is because of the PDCA cycle. So as you're executing the plan, you're through that real-time planning, you're updating the plan. So everybody who's been assigned as an objective activity lead is going in and doing the updates on the plan. And we count on those updates to be able to generate the charts and graphs and such so we can determine in the check phase, are we on target? Are we behind target? Are we ahead of target in here? So the performance monitoring tools are used at the check phase to determine, are we on track? So if we need to make adjustments, we can do that. We're going to use the same example that we were using before, the tobacco cessation example. I know it gets a little monotonous, but it's kind of everybody's kind of attuned to that a little bit here. So we're going to kind of review that in the pyramid here. So the organization we use is USA Public Health. The group is Tobacco 2023. And remember, the dashboard we're going to talk about, macro level, is dependent on the group we have selected. The initiative under the group was tobacco cessation. The goal was to reduce smoking in high schools. Our objective and the objective and activities, we're going to get down to that micro level here. So reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. And then the steps we're going to go through to get there. So, pardon me. So this is the model we're going to be reviewing again today. So remembering the first thing we're going to do is look at the group level here and look at the dashboard screen and the different variations of what we can see in there. So I'm going to take you back live into the system. So this is the group screen for our USA Public Health Department. I'm currently selected at Community Health Division. So again, for the purpose of today, we're going to assume I'm the Community Health Director. When I log in as the Community Health Director, I'm automatically taken to my default group. So I don't have to do anything else. I'm just showing you that I am at that group at this point in time, but I don't really have to. If I'm just coming in, I want to look at the dashboard screen. So all I have to do is log in. It takes me to Community Health, which you'll see down here at the bottom when you log in. And then I'm going to go up and click on this traffic light up here, which takes me to the dashboard specifically for Community Health. Again, it takes about 10, 12 seconds to gather up all the data points to bring it together here. And you'll see every time we go away and come back to this screen, it has to do the same thing because it's a multi-user system. There's many people in the background working on the process here. So in fact, that they might be doing something in the background. So we have to recalculate the screen each time. And that's why it takes, again, 10 or 12 seconds to do that. Couple of things. This button up here you see called Home Page. There are 3 screens that you can make as your login homepage. So when I log in, which screen do I want to go to? The default is the one up here, the main menu. So most people go to the main menu. But if I was the community health director and I just logged in to be able to look and see how is community health performing today on the dashboard screen, I might make this my homepage. So I could click on that, little dialogue comes up and says, hey, do you want to make this your homepage every time you log in? You can do that. The third screen is the reports menu. It'll have the same button up here. I can go in and say, hey, I want to change it. And by the way, you can go back and forth any of these screens, change it there. So I can say for today, I want the dashboard screen. Tomorrow, I want to go back to my main menu screen or something. Typically the reporting, if somebody makes the reports their home screen, it's because they generate a lot of reports. Might be the admin for the health director or something along that line who's going to generate a weekly operational planning report for something within a department, something along that line. Show subgroups we'll talk about here in a few minutes, but every group could potentially have groups underneath it. Remember the hierarchy of the groups. Number 1 level group is the top level. 2s report to 1, 3s report to 2, all the way down to level 10 if you were to ever get that far. When I show a group level screen here, I'm looking at the selected group, in this case, Community Health Division, and its first level subgroups. So you may have noticed on the group screen, we had WIC and we had tobacco underneath Community Health. The reason we do that is if you think about it, the person who is running tobacco and a person who's running a WIC is probably reporting to the community health director in this particular case. That's why we roll those 3 up together. Now, if there were screens under tobacco or groups under tobacco or groups under WIC, then we could use this show subgroups button to bring them into the fold as well. If I'm at the department level group, the highest level group, and I use show subgroups, it's going to show me the entire department. So every plan, every division, every office, every program on one screen. Now, I will forewarn you, that's a lot of data in there in the case if you guys have a pretty good size department. So it's a lot of data. It'll take a while to generate that screen. So just kind of be patient if you do that. This top left corner, what I'm looking at are either the activities, the objectives, or the goals. So the bottom 3 levels of the pyramid. And I'm looking at the number in each traffic light color here. In an ideal world, you want everything to be green and gold, meaning that they're either moving along as expected or completed. If they get down to yellow, that means there's something potentially going wrong. If you get to red, it means something has gone wrong. Now, as you'll notice, everything on here is clickable. So if I wanted to look at these 4 activities that are in a yellow status, I can just click on that. It's going to take me to a screen that shows me just those 4 activities in here. So these are the 4 that are in yellow status. And, I might make assignments down here to a different activity lead, or I might just say, oops, I forgot to update this and make a change in there, something along that line. So this is just the nice way to be able to get to them without having to go searching anywhere. To get back to the dashboard screen, I'm either going to click the little back arrow up here, or I can go back to the traffic light. Either one does the same thing. So I'll go ahead and click the little back arrow for now. It's going to again, it's going to recalculate for 10 or 11 seconds to get that dashboard screen replenished. And again, even though I didn't change anything on this screen where it could just go back and show the screen, somebody else in the background may have. So I always got to go back and recalculate the screen so it's in fact running in real time. Or maybe 13 or 14 seconds. There we go. Okay. So again, I can drill down on anything on this screen. You'll notice everything is clickable, so I can drill down on everything. The schedule gauge here is showing me the aggregately how far ahead of or behind schedule we are. If I'm ahead of schedule, it's green. If I'm 0 to 60 days behind schedule, it's yellow. If I'm 60 days behind schedule, it's red. And the way that's calculated, as you recall, every activity has got a beginning date and an ending date. Either it's finite that you enter into a QM or a project-based activity, or it's calculated in a QA activity based on the frequency and the beginning date, but it has that ending date. So if I'm looking, let's say I have an activity that starts on January 1st and ends on December 31st. And right now it's, let's call it July 1st. So we're exactly 50% of the way through the year. What that's telling me now is that I should be 50% done with that activity within that time range. If I'm 50% done, I'm on track. If I'm 60% done, I'm ahead of schedule. If I'm only 40% done, but I'm halfway through the year, I'm behind schedule. So that's the calculation that it's doing. So basically it's saying we're 8 days behind schedule across these 23 activities. Some of them could be ahead of schedule. Some of them could be behind schedule. Aggregately, they're 8 days behind schedule. So that's my top left corner. Down at the bottom, I drill down even further. So my first view is my activity leaders. So as you recall, at the activity level, we can assign activity team members and activity team leads. These are the team leads that are assigned. The first column over here is showing me the last time this person was in there and updated their stuff. Green is less than 30 days. There's no yellow in here, but if there was yellow, it would be 30 to 60, and red is over 60. Typically, you want everybody to be green if possible, meaning you've got pretty real-time information, typically, within a month, obviously. If I get to yellow, sometimes that's okay. So think about the fact that, remember we talked about an email notification going out, let's say on the first Monday of the month. Well, let's say that that person was on vacation during the time the email came out. So you went over the 30 days and you're at 33 or 34 days before they come back. It's going to be yellow, but that's the reason that it might be yellow in there. And you can look at the actual date and say, yeah, they're 4 days off. So it's really still pretty real-time information. When you get down to red, though, that means somebody hasn't updated it in a couple of months. So at this point in time, what I would probably do is go, talk to Mara and say, hey, do you need some additional training on how to do the updates in the dashboard? What can we do to get you back on track? Pretty much as soon as you mention that you're watching this to folks. So if I'm the community health director, I'm meeting with my team over here, and I sit down with them and say, this is what I see every day. I see the last time you guys were in there and updated the information. And I use that information to be able to manage the plans for community health and WIC and tobacco and that sort of thing. So all you do is mention that one time. The next meeting, everything will be green. So it just kind of is a nice, little reminder for everybody. If you're using the FTE values at the activity level, they'll roll up by person here. So what that allows you to do is see how loaded each person is if you assign out all the activity or the FTEs at the activity level. Not used a lot of times, but sometimes during budgeting, like up here, you say we got Diane at a 2.35 FTE. That probably means is we need to have another Diane. So maybe we can hire another person in Diane's like position and split this up so they're both down around a 1.0 FTE if possible. The lagging column is just showing me we have activities that are, again, calculated, same calculation we talked about up here, calculated to be behind schedule. And the color coding indicates, again, how far behind schedule they are. The days column is the same as the schedule gauge. In this case, we're aggregating all of the activities that Diane is responsible for, and she's 40 days ahead of schedule, which is great. Overdue says that we have activities that are past the ending date and not yet 100% complete. The red indicates that at least one of those is 60 days overdue. And then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So that's my first view is my people. And that's kind of the first thing you're going to want to look at is how's everybody performing against the assignments in here. The next thing we're going to look at is our groups. So when I select the groups tab, again, it's got to recalculate. And what it's going to show me is down where it says activity leader over here. It's going to show me those three groups. So it's going to show community health and then the two groups underneath that, which are WIC and tobacco. And then it's going to give me basically the same information over here. So you can see that we have basically the same data, a little bit less because we don't have specific information for people over here. But the last time the plans were updated and that sort of thing. My third one is strategic priorities. And what then shows up down here, and this again will be the strategic priorities from the strategic plan for USA Public Health and not your department at this point. But so these are my 5 strategic priorities. So they are the services and initiatives from my strategic plan. And then what I'm looking at now is how does every other plan in the system roll up to our strategic plan? So what are we doing across the whole department related to partnerships or improving data quality and dissemination, that sort of thing. So those are the 3 views. Again, everything is clickable. So I could go look at this one activity that is behind schedule over here, or these 12 that are overdue, or these 2 reds. I just click on that. So what it does is save you a lot of navigating around. We'll go ahead and click back to leaders now. Up in the top right corner, the My Priorities. Again, these are kind of individual bookmarks of things that you want to keep your eye on. It's really, really simple to put these up here. When you put them up here, they're on your login only. So everybody can select the same ones, or they can select different ones, but everybody has the option to pick the ones that they want. So I can go down here. Let's say I have this one and it's green, so I really don't necessarily need to watch it. I'll click on it. It'll take me to that particular activity. This is the green flag that sets them up on that screen. So if it's green, it means it's going to appear. If I turn it to gray, it's no longer going to appear. And I have a yellow one down here. Let's go ahead and make that one appear. So the green says this one will appear, and this one is now gray, so it won't appear. Now I'll go ahead and go back to the dashboard, and we should see the difference. Now, let me explain this. Stay on current group. So what happened was, if I go down and look at these two activities down at the bottom, it says that they are in the group, Tobacco 2023, which is a subgroup to community health. So what it's asking me is, do I want to see a dashboard for Tobacco 2023, or do I want to go back to where I was at the dashboard for community health? So because I went to one of the subgroups, because remember it's reported on in the dashboard, the two subgroups there, it's going to ask me, do I want to go back, or do I want to look at the current group? I'm going to go ahead and say, go back to community health. So again, it's going to recalculate the screen, and it should show this yellow activity, or this yellow objective up there versus the green that we had up there before at top. Now those objectives up here in the top right corner, you can have as many as you want, so you can go any plan and put them in there. But the yellow light typically indicates, again, something is a little bit off track. So what you're watching are yellows and reds most often. And typically they're going to be things that either you're directly responsible for, so you're the activity or objective lead on it, or the team members that work for you are responsible for. So you're going to have typically yellows and reds, and I'm going to string down here. When they turn to green or gold, you can go and do what we just did, click them, unset the green flag, and then they disappear up there. So it's just a nice kind of a bookmark of specific things that you want to keep your eye on up there. So this is the dashboard screen. This is macro level performance monitoring. Now the dashboard screen, as we kind of mentioned before, is also available on your phone. Just to reiterate, you don't need an app for this. We call it a dynamic app, meaning that it builds the app dynamically in the web browser on your phone. So you use exactly the same link, which is login.vmsgdashboard.com. And then you're going to use exactly the same login credentials. It just knows that it's on a phone. So when it knows it's on a phone, it opens up VMSG mobile for you in the web browser. Just because of screen real estate, we broke it down into 3 screens, but it's the same exact functionalities you had on the dashboard. Top left corner, the big picture, if you will. The bottom down here with the 3 different views, and then the top right corner. Again, everything on here is clickable, so I can drill right down to the particular activities that are this one that's in red status. So I might want to look at that one in there. So I have all the same functionality in there, but again, on my phone. So that is macro level performance monitoring. Any questions before we move to micro level? Oh, okay, let's go. Micro level. This again is down at the objective and activity level. I'm going to go back to our screen here. I'm going to go to my groups tab, and I'm going to select the Tobacco 2023 program again. It's the one we've been using. And I'm going to navigate down here to get to the activities. So I have my goal up here. I have my objective of reduce smoking in high schools. I'm sorry, my goal, now my objective, reduce smoking at Wayne High School, and then the activities that I'm going to go through to get there. Micro level performance monitoring is primarily just this chart button right here. So I'm going to click on the chart, and this activity is create training content materials for student faculty on the dangers of smoking. It's a project-based activity. We're measuring it over time, so we got 0 to 100%. The notes down here are showing me that we completed chapter 1. Again, this was probably at 25%. Chapter 2, 50, chapter 3, 75. We got done, it's 100% final. So let's go ahead and look at the history chart right here. And that's exactly what it shows. We started out with nothing when we started the program. We got 1 chapter done, 2 chapters done, 3 chapters, 4 chapters, and we were basically done creating the content at this point in time. So this is the micro level chart. This is the activity itself. Again, I can have a very similar chart at the objective level, shows me the same information. I'll show you in a minute where all this data comes from. It gets mapped. But there are some options up here that are kind of nice. One of those is scale. So when I say auto scale, what that means is take the highest value, in this case 100%, multiply it by 1.1 or 110%, and put that as the top up here. So what it does is it seems to make the chart look a little better. I'll go ahead and just flip it back to 100% scale, and you'll see why. It kind of cuts off everything up there. So typically it's going to be auto scale, so it's going to give me the tallest scale. And where that comes in kind of nice is if I'm down here with something that's at a 20% or something, instead of having kind of a flat line, I can make that line stretch out. So it'll be 22% would be the top of the scale. So it gives me a better looking chart in there. So that's one of the options. Go back to automatic here. These options up here. So you notice that there's a date on each of these data element or data points in here. So we're going anywhere from July 1, 22 to March 14th of 23 out there. If I wanted to just look at, let's say, July 31st, our first entry into here of 2022 through October 28th when we completed it, I can just set those dates in here. And what that does is just compress the chart horizontally, basically. So it just shows, it'll show this one, this one, this one, and this one. So it's just going to show that on the chart. Where that comes in handy is if you're looking over multiple years or multiple months and you want to isolate a year, you want to see what happened within that year, you can set the dates for that. Time frame is kind of interesting. The default is raw, and what that means is show every data point. And I'm going to show you the history file in a second here where the data points come from. But let's say that you are over the course of a year, you've gone in every week and entered an update for some activity in here. And what I want to look at is what happened every month. So what I can do is go down here and select the month time frame. And it's only going to show me one data point for each month. My choices are the average of the data points for the month or the last value for the month. Now, where that comes in and kind of how you decide what that means, if I got something like this that's growing every month, then what I can go in here and say is I want to see the last value because I had week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and I'm growing every week. I want to see the last value for the month. If I got something that's kind of moving up and down and just going across the chart in here, that's a normal thing that's, we're doing 9 training sessions a month. So it's 9, 8, 9, whatever it happens to be. I might want to see the average value for the month versus the last value, because the last value, it could be higher, it could be low, but really what I want to look at is on average, how many did we do during that month? So that's what this data is right here. So either the last value or the the average for that month here. Down here, it's showing me what is the activity we're looking at. So it gives me the idea. Now, if you guys are a manager level user or an org admin level user, you'll have this button down here, Save Defaults. Right now, I've got this chart set up, for months average and the specific dates in here. I got it set for auto scale. If I save defaults, it's going to save all of those defaults up here, and it's going to show me this chart when anybody logs in. So you being the manager or the org admin can set it so that the default when they log in will show up just like this. Now, the other side of that is when they log in and they look at this chart, they can change all these data values temporarily. So they can change the dates, they can change the timeline, they can change the scale, they can do all that stuff temporarily. When they log out and log back in, or somebody else logs back in and looks at this chart again, it's going to go back to the saved defaults. Again, you can go back and reset those again, so I can set them all to the highest and lowest date in there, and I can go raw data and whatever I want to do in there. So it just gives you the ability to have a default, typically used for historical data. So I want to see the last data point of every month for last year. So that's why you would use the save defaults. The normal users they can get in there, they can look at the chart, they can temporarily change it, but they can't do the save defaults button down here. So that is the micro level performance monitoring. And now I'm going to show you kind of quickly where this comes from. Go back to so that is the history file. The history file is basically kept every time you save a screen. So let's go look at it in the system here. I'm going to go back to my activity here. And the history file is the hourglass right here. So I'm looking at the same activity of creating training content. I want to look at every time it was saved, like when I got to 25, 50, 75, whatever. I'm going to click on the hourglass here. It's going to bring open my history file. and it's in inverse chronological order. So the oldest one is at the bottom, the newest one's at the top. It's showing me who did it, when they did it, what they did, so updated, deleted, added, whatever. It's going to show me the traffic light at that point in time, the activity number, the activity description, the performance metric for that activity, and then any notes. A lot of times you'll see the notes will change over time. And then over here are the data values that we're actually entering in there. So in this case, it's 0, 25, 50, 75. So this is the history. This is where all that data comes from. Got a couple of options. Again, if you're a manager user or an org admin user, you'll see these controls down here at the bottom left. If I click on a date up here, you notice it appears down at the bottom. So what I'm able to do is change the date for that particular history record. Where this comes in handy is if I'm back here and I have data in there that was, say, 1921 data. I don't have it in the system because we hadn't rolled out the system, but I want to put in data points that we collected in a different way on Excel or whatever back in 2021. So what I can actually do then is set the data values here. So I'm going to set the percentage. I'm going to have the dates in there, any notes that I have. I'm going to set it for exactly what it was. Hit the save button. It'll create a new history record. Then I go into my history file here, and I select the newest one, which will be at the top. I change the date back to 3/14 of 21, let's say, and then I'll save it right here. Then that history record is going to come down here to the bottom, so it's going to be the oldest history record. So what that's all about is creating historical reference data from before you implemented the system primarily. The other option you have is if you accidentally do duplicate records, which you can do if you're playing around and you're saying, hey, look at this, I can change this data, the traffic light turns to red or something, so you're talking to somebody else. You could create additional history records that you don't need. It might be a bunch of them at 25% or something. So if I go again, click on the date, hit the red X down here, gives me a dialog saying you sure you want to delete it, but you can delete those history records. Again, if you accidentally do that, you can go back to the activity, put in the data values that you know were there at that time, create a new history record, then go change the date on it. So that's the history file that makes up the charts. Let's see here. Okay, so that was micro level performance monitoring. So we've covered macro level and micro level. Next thing we're going to get into are reports. But any questions on either of those? Okay, let's move on. Reporting. We're going to go over most of the reports today. There's a couple of them that we're not going to get into today that are related to the three-dimensional planning, and we'll be having an additional training down the road around three-dimensional planning and the categorization reports. For today, we're going to focus on a couple of different reports, the operational plan report, the partner reports, and the team lead report. On the system, anytime you want to go to the reports menu, it's this blue printer-looking, folder-looking thing at the top right corner up here. So let's go back to here. Now, the one thing to know about reports is they can be at two different levels. The first level is I want to do a report for the entire group. Now, down here at the bottom, we have what we call the cookie crumb. And basically, I have rollovers to show me the organization, the group, and you notice it just has the service initiative number. But when I roll over, it says that's tobacco cessation. My goal is to reduce smoking in high school. My objective, and the reason that that's nice is, sometimes you're in a place where you have no idea where you were. So you're working on an activity, for instance, and somebody calls you, you're on the phone for 15 minutes, you come back and you look at it, you've got a memory like mine, it says, wow, what the heck was I doing? So you can always just go down to the bottom at the cookie crumb and roll over and say, oh, that's right, this is the one I was working on. It'll kind of a reminder. But if I just have the group highlighted in here, and there's nothing under the service initiative particularly, my report is going to be for the entire group. If I go down to the service initiative tab and select any one of these, my report is going to be just for that service or initiative. So in this case, if I did the report because I have the tobacco cessation initiative highlighted, the report will not include secondhand smoke and tobacco initiation prevention. Let's go ahead and generate that report. So I'm going to go up to the reports menu, go to the operational plan report. Now, because I have hidden data in here, remember we talked about at the operational planning training on the service initiative level, little checkbox in the bottom right corner to hide a service, to archive it basically. If you are an org admin or a manager level user, you'll get this dialog if you've hidden anything. And basically it says, do you want to include the hidden data or the archive data in this particular report? Typically, it's going to be a no answer unless you're specifically looking at a historical record of something. But if you're a normal user, you won't even see this dialog. I'm going to go ahead and say no for now. So it's going to generate my operational plan report. Quickly walking through the report down here, we have the group, the initiative, the goal. You see the notes are all in blue. The data source here, remember we talked about the be able to create a link to a data source at the goal, objective, and activity level. That just shows up what your data source is. And now you'll notice down at the bottom, those other two initiatives aren't on here because I had selected this particular initiative. Had I selected just a group, then I would have the other two initiatives, and if they had plans underneath them, they would show up in there. Now, this is the report. To print this report or to save it or whatever you want to do with it, just click on this button in the bottom right corner. If I click on that, my default report name is VMSG report.htm, so I'll click on that. It's going to ask me where do I want to save it, and I can change the name of it. In this case, it might be Tobacco 2023 Plan or something along that line. I'm going to go ahead and put it on my desktop for now. VMSG report.htm, I'll just leave it at that. Go ahead and save it. Now, when I save it, it's going to appear in the bottom of my browser window, so I can just pop it open there. I'll go ahead and close this. Now, when I click on that, it's going to open a new browser tab, and there's my report in there. Now from here, several things I can do. I can use the browser functions to print. So I can print to a printer, I can print to a PDF or whatever other features you might have under there. Some people like to take this report and put it into like a Word document. So to do that, just click anywhere on a report, hit Control A, which is select all, hit Control C, which is copy, open up a Word document. Typically, I like to flip them to landscape mode and minimal margins, so narrow margins. And then I just hit Control V and paste this entire report. Now, because it's HTML, the report is, it gives you a very highly formatted, it'll look exactly like this in a Word document. What that does is allow you to go in and do highlights and whatever other cool things you can do in Word. Sometimes you might want to just extract a piece of it that way. Lots of things you can do that way. So it just gives you the ability to do that. Again, the reason we use HTML is because it's extremely formatted, and it, by the way, is automatically a web page. So if you took this VMSG report.htm file and gave it to your IT folks, they could post that up as a web page on your website. So HTML is a web language in there. So we use it throughout because it is so well formatted and things. Now back to our report. There are some nice features up at the top. So remember, every activity has got a beginning and ending date. So this one down here says 3/1/23 was the ending date, and they're all down here. Here's 12/31/23. If I wanted to show a report with just activities within a specific date range, let me give you an example. Today is July 20th. If I wanted to say, okay, what was I supposed to have accomplished in June? I could go up on this little calendar button here. It gives me a beginning and ending date. I can put in June 1 through June 30th. And when I do that, it's going to filter this report. So the only thing that shows up are activities that were supposed to be completed in that previous month. So it's just showing me all the activities with an ending date within June. The other side of that coin might be, what am I supposed to be doing this month? So I can go in there and say, I'll put in July 1 through July 31st, and it's going to show me just every activity that is meant to be completed this month. So it's really kind of a nice tool if you're using it to guide your actions in there, which obviously you could be doing that with the plan in there. So that's the date. The next one here is documents. So remember, we can attach documents anywhere in the system. If I click on this guy, it's going to show me all of the documents that are attached. In this case, there's just one, the Tobacco Cessation Plan.pdf. If I had multiples of these documents, they would string out with comma separated over here, and they'll line wrap and everything, have as many as you want on there. Documents can be attached to any levels. They could be at the group level up here, the initiative, goals, objectives, activities, have all kinds of documents attached in there. So that's what the documents button does. You notice all the blue notes in here. If I wanted to show somebody the plan without all of the notes, and by the way, these notes can grow really, really long over time, so they might have literally pages of notes. But if I want to show somebody the plan without the notes, I can just use this hide button up here. And when I do that, all it does is hide the notes. It gives you the exact same plan without any of the blue in there. So that's another option in there. Now, another option over here, this status. What this allows you to do, let's say you got a plan that's, hundreds of activities like your strategic plan might be, and you want to be able to go in and say, I just want to see everything that is just in red status. So I might want to look at the yellow status and the red status or any, the completed ones. But in this case, let me just look at the red status. And what I want to see are just those activities that have a red traffic light in there, because that's going to be a point of focus for me. So you can filter by traffic light, and that's what that is. And you'll notice the activity that shows up down here is the red activity, the only red activity that was in that particular plan. So that's what that filter does. And that filter is also going to be based on what you have selected over here at the level. So I'm looking at a plan all the way down to the activity level. I can go in and say, I just want to look at the objective level, so I can remove the activities. And the objectives, again, are the targets. I just want to see, what am I trying to accomplish? So I show my objective 1 and 2 right here. When I do the status drop down, the filter here, it's going to filter at whichever level I have selected. So in this particular case, I could say I just want to look at the yellow objective. It's going to filter out this green objective because I'm on the objective here. Again, I can do the same thing at goals up there. There are no traffic lights at the service level, so you won't get any filter if you're looking at the service level. So that, and again, what these are the levels that I want to look at in the report. So again, I'm at the objective level now. I'll go down to the activity level again, so I can see the entire report. So that is the operational plan report. Just kind of an FYI, it is the most common report. You're going to use it, 80 or 85% of the time. The second most common report is this one down here called a team lead report. And that is, how are my people doing, or what are my people doing down here? So I'm going to go down here and select all. And what that does is show me everybody in the organization. I could select people from a specific group. So maybe I just want to look at people from community health. I could use the group drop down. In this case, I'll just say all. We'll go down here and look at Steve Hansen. So you see these options down at the bottom. I can either look at the individual. In this case, I've got Steve Hansen selected. I can look at the group. So if I had, let's say, community health drop down here, and there was a couple of people in community health, I could say I just want to see everybody in that group and what they're assigned to. If I say all, that means the entire department. Again, that's another one of those reports. It'll generate the report, but it'll take a few minutes to do it. So if you do that, just be patient knowing it's going to take a while to do that. If I'm looking at the activity level over here, so I can either look at the objectives that that person is assigned to or the activities. If I'm looking at the activity level, then I can say, I want to say whether they're either a team member or team lead, don't care, or just when they're a team member, or just when they're a team lead. So I'm going to say either at this point, and I'm going to look at the activities. Now, if I'm at the objective here, these don't count because there's no such thing as a team member at the objective level, just a team lead. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to see the objectives that Steve Hansen is assigned to, and I'm going to click. I got two choices. This is an editable screen. So let's say Steve is leaving the organization. He's retiring. And I want to be able to go in and replace Steve with somebody else. If I click on this button here, it's going to take me to a screen that I can edit the particular objectives that Steve is assigned to. So I can go down here, I can click the black X, which removes him from it, or I can just do the drop down and pick a new objective lead. We got a lot of them in here. Typically, you're not going to have that many. It's, again, demo data. But I can go in here and replace every place that Steve is assigned as an objective lead with the new person coming in to replace Steve, something along that line. And then I also have the option at the bottom here, if I want to say, I want to look at all of the activities that Steve is assigned to as just the team lead. And I want to see the report instead of the editable screen. I want to see the report. I can click on that. Hang on a second here. I'll go ahead and go down to community health. Back to my reports. Team lead. Okay, so again, I'm going to pick Steve Hansen, and I'm going to say the individual and just where he is an activity lead, and just looking at the activities, and then hit the report here. And notice, and So it's going to take it a few seconds to generate this report. But what it's going to show me is everything that Steve is the activity lead on. Now, where this comes in handy is if you are so I'm the community health manager, and I have weekly or monthly meetings with my staff. And what I want to do is review their performance. So what I can do is generate the report that says, here's everything at the activity level that Steve is supposed to be working on. And then we can sit down and review it. Just say, hey, how are these things doing? Where do you need my help to come in and get things moving forward? That sort of stuff. So that's why that report is kind of a nice tool to have. And again, you can use the magnifying glass here to get the editable view for times when you're going to be changing stuff. So this is all those activities that you saw that Steve was assigned to. So again, what I'm going to be able to do is go down here and say, Steve is the team lead for these activities. I can look at the activities, look at the status, and we can just kind of review them. So it's a nice tool to be able to have in that aspect. So that is the team lead report. Again, probably the second most used. You can use it for lots of different things, but the idea is I want to see how my people are performing, and I want to look at every activity that they're assigned to in there. So now the other reports I want to talk about are the partner reports. So as you recall, at the activity level, there's below the team lead and team members, we had the ability to select external partners. A couple different reports here. Number one is my partner list. So if I click on the partner list, it shows me down the left side the partner organization. And it gives me the option over here on the right to do a couple different things. Do I want to look at just the selected partner only? So in this case, just VMSG dashboard. I'm going to say no. Do I want to print the contacts, so the people who are assigned, the people who are within VMSG dashboard? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Do you want to print the details? So do you want the names, addresses, phone numbers, all that kind of stuff? We'll go ahead and say yes. And I'll go ahead and generate the report. So now these are the 4 partners that we have. So we've got Andrew's car seat installation, Bill's car seat, Joe's car seat, and we have VMSG dashboard. And you'll see where there is a lot of detail. You can see it showing up down here. Got the addresses, got the people, their email address, their phone number, the whole 9 yards. So that's the partner list. Where this comes in handy is over time, especially with your chip, you're going to potentially have a lot of partners in there. These are your external folks that you're working with. So you can generate the list so everybody can go through it and say, yeah, we're not working with this group anymore, or there's a new contact in this group, something like that. So that's what that's all about. Now I'll go back to here, and the other report we're going to talk about are partner activities. So again, in your chip, you're potentially going to assign a bunch of different external partners. And if you want to go look and say, where am I working with VMSG dashboard, or where am I working with Fred at VMSG dashboard? Again, where this comes in handy is if you're going to have a partner meeting. So you're going to go to VMSG dashboard. You're going to come see us either virtually or in person or whatever, and you're going to say, here's all the things that I show that we're working on together. Do you have any others? Are you done with any of these? So it makes a nice tool to be able to use for your partner meetings out here. Again, I have the option to go to an editable screen. On the left side, the editable screen would be everywhere that VMSG dashboard as an organization is assigned, not necessarily just Fred Erickson. On the right side, these two are going to be either editable screen or a report specifically for just Fred Erickson at VMSG dashboard. Now I could have several other people down here at VMSG dashboard, and I could pick any one of those. So let's go ahead and look at the editable screen for just VMSG dashboard, the organization here. And again, where this comes in handy is if I'm going to go in and change out partners. So we got a new partner that's doing our content development or something along that line. So these are the 4 activities that VMSG dashboard is assigned to. Again, I can go down here and reassign the activities. I can also go back and kind of do the same thing. So I'm going to go down to VMSG dashboard, Fred Erickson, and I want to say I want to print a partner contact report for Fred Erickson. So what I'm saying is basically the same thing you just saw, but specifically for the contact Fred Erickson, and it's going to be in a report form versus an editable screen form. And again, partner meetings. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to give them a copy of this and said, Fred, this is everything I show you're working with us on here. Are there any other things? Has the status changed on any of this? Are there any notes you want me to put in? Anything along that line? So it's just, again, a nice tool to be able to work with your external partners. So that is all the reports we're going to talk about today. There's some of these reports that are internal use only, kind of my stuff that I use to look at different things. The category tag report and the categorization report, the categories report we'll get into in the future training when we talk about three-dimensional planning and how all that works out here. So that is the reporting that I wanted to talk about. And before I get you out of here, let's go back here. Are there any questions on reporting? Nope. Okay, what we're going to do next is go into three-dimensional planning. Three-dimensional planning is the ability to create public-facing web pages from any data elements in the system. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go to your org. So I'll go down to Sacramento. It's down here somewhere. There we are. Okay, I'm going to go look at your groups here. And I think I was looking at your QI plan. I think you had some data in the QI plan. So let's go ahead and look down here. So under the services we have, there we go, quality improvement plan. So let's go ahead and generate a VMSG public page for your quality improvement plan. So this button right here on most of the screens is VMSG public. So I click on that. It's going to ask me what level do I want to summarize. And you'll notice I have three different charts. And basically what I'm looking at is the number of traffic lights in each status at this level. So I don't want to look at the goals, the objectives, the activities. For today, I'm going to go ahead and select activities, and I'll hit the save button. What it's going to do then is build me what we call an indicator row, and it's going to show me the number of activities that are green, which is 21, and 2 completed or gold activities in here. And it says we're right on schedule. Probably indicates that the dates haven't really been set in here. But so what we're looking at is for the entire QI plan, we can look at the greens and the golds. There's no yellows and red, which is great, obviously. We're going to say, yep, let's go ahead and keep this one. We'll save that. Now I'm going to go ahead and unselect all these other ones. We did maternal, child, adolescent health last time, it looked like. So we're going to go ahead and unselect these. So the first one is going to be the quality improvement plan. Now I've got that in here. I'm going to go back now and grab underneath that the goals. So we had 3 different goals. So let's do a page for each of the goals. Again, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to summarize at the activity level, save that. It's going to generate an indicator row specifically for the first goal. You'll see the goal is laid out in here. Again, we have 6 greens, so everything's good. We're right on schedule. Go ahead and save that. Now we'll go back to our goals, go to the second goal, go ahead and do VMSG public, activity level, save that. And this one again is 6 green and right on schedule. We'll save that. Go back now to our goals. And I can do this again at any level. I can do the goals, the objectives, the activities. Go ahead and look at this one. Activity level summary. Yeah, okay, here we go. So we have 9 green and we have 2 completed in here. We'll go ahead and save that. So what I've done is just created a web page that shows me the top level of my quality improvement plan, top 3 levels. Over here, I can select any of these that I want to appear on that web page. So these are the 4 that I want. If I wanted to change the order of these, so like moving 1, 2, and 3 around, the way I do that is I would select it. Down here is the sort order number. You'll notice there's a space of 10 between each of these. We did that purposefully to make it easy to go back in, and I could make, I wanted to move this down to the second to the bottom or to the bottom. I could just change this to 90, and then the sort order is going to take it to the bottom. For now, we'll go ahead and leave it as is. Now, this is what we call the indicator rows. So I'm going to take these indicator rows and create a web page, and that is just the export button down here. So here's what it's going to look like. So my entire quality improvement plan at the top. And then underneath it, each of my services that I have listed, or initiatives, could be either one down here, that I have listed down here, and the status of those. So we're going to say, yep, that's exactly what we want to be able to do, so we can share that with somebody else. I'm going to go down here and hit the save button. So here's my web page that got saved. I got a little description here. I say, SAC demo QI plan. Go ahead and save that. Now here's the link. So this is the full link that was created for you to get to that page. So I'm going to copy that, Control C. I'm going to go up to the top up here, and I'm going to hit Control V to paste it and enter, and there will be the page. So this is the page we just created, and literally it is that easy to do. You can do it any level. I can get all the way down to the activity level. Let me go back and show you an example at the activity level here, because I don't know if you have any activities that have timelines on it. But so I can get down to a specific activity, in this case, provide 9 training sessions each month on the dangers of smoking. If I roll my mouse over, you see we did 9 there, did 9 there, 9 there, got down to 6, got down to 5, whatever. So it just gives me the ability to do the micro level charts in a VMSG public page as well. So let's go back to, yeah, so this is one we just created. The web address up here, again, put it in an email and send it out. The actual website or the web page is stored up on our servers. So you give them the link, it's going to link them to our servers. They're going to be able to go in and look at the web page. They can't get from here back into the system. Again, the only thing they can really do is roll over and see how many, in this case, activities in each level. So it just gives them the ability to do that. The other thing, if you wanted to put this link up on your public-facing web page as the status of your QI plan, for instance, might be nice for the public to be able to see that. You can capture that and give it to your IT folks and say, hey, please put this as a link on our web page, wherever you want to have it in there. And the next time you go through and do an update, let's say every quarter you do an update, you go back through the exact same process we just did to create it, you update it, it's going to overwrite each of these. And then at the end, when you decide to save the web page, it's going to give you the option to overwrite the existing link, which is what you want to do if you're using the same link on your web page, because you don't want your IT folks to have to create a new link each time. So overwrite that link. The new link will take you to the new data behind there. So that is the VMSG public. Now, when I go back to the main menu up here, my indicator rows show up down here and my web pages show up down here. So if I click on my indicator rows, it's the same page we were looking at before, but I can get directly to it. So down here, you see, here's the 4. Again, I can, check or uncheck any of these to put them on or off of that web page up there and create the new web page. My other option there would be, the web pages. So I see how many web pages we have in here. Click on that. We just have the one web page that we created in there. So this is the web page we just created. I could have bunches of these, so I can look at them here with the www button. I can remove them, that sort of thing. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is back on the indicator rows page. On the left side over here, you can get a lot of information like this. You may want to abbreviate this. You may not want to have that it was, the service quality improvement plan, because it always says that above it up here. You can edit all of this. And the way you do that is right down here. So you'll notice it's got a bunch of crazy looking characters in there. That is pure HTML. So if you are familiar with HTML, you'll recognize all that. And it's very easy to go in and do formatting. So it allows you, I can just remove that whole thing. If I wanted to say, I just wanted to call this Initiative 3. I can just do that. I can save it. Now when I look at that, and now it just says Initiative 3 up there, and it's in, I think it's Arial font size 2 or something along that line. So I can just do that if I want. But if I want to get kind of cute with it, I can actually go in there and put in HTML tags. So I can put in different fonts. I can put in bold. I can put in graphics if I want to. I can actually put in web links over there. So just if you don't understand HTML tags, just Google HTML tags and you'll find thousands of web pages. It'll define them for you. But here's the ones that we used kind of on a typical basis to do the formatting. So the first one is the font tag. So everyone starts out with a less than sign, or call it an open bracket here. Font, the font face is Arial. The font size is size 2. They go from, I think, 1 to 7. The color is navy. You got a bunch of choices in here. For both the size and the color, you can also put in a pound sign and 6 characters, and it takes you anywhere you want to go. Again, Google HTML tags. And then this is the text we're working on down here. Then I use a bracket / font to close the tag, and then it's going to end up looking like this. The next one is bold. A lot of times you just want to bold something. So same thing, bracket B, bracket / B, and then it looks like this. Italics the same way, bracket I, bracket slash I, italics text here. And then the last one that we use sometimes is line break, carriage return. So you put this at the end of the line. There's no close tag on it. It'll just give you a line wrap is all it does in here. So you can use these, very simple to do those. But if you want to get fancy with it, you can do anything you want. Again, we had folks the other day who wanted to put a web link in there back to a data source for the plan, or maybe a web link to the piece of the plan in that HTML report format we talked about, a link right back to that. So you can do lots of cool things with it in here. That is what I had to cover for today. That was performance monitoring. Are there any questions or anything else you would like to see? Okay, well, that pretty much wraps up the training for now. As we move into the future and you get some of your new plans in there and stuff, we'll probably want to schedule, it's a very short training for the three-dimensional planning and the categorization reports. But for now, you should be ready to rock and roll with anything in the system. If you do have any questions, if you need any help getting a plan started in there, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to do that for you. I have recorded this session, so I will provide a recording. I'll provide a link on YouTube with the recorded session. So if you want to go back and review anything, it'll be there. So if you have no other questions, I will let you guys get on with your day. I will do the same. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
You're welcome.